Well, welcome again, friends, once more to First Baptist Church Grand Cayman for our daily devotionals from the book of Numbers. Let's be honest. On a personal level, as people, we're such contradictory characters, aren't we? We're not as good as we should be. We're not as bad as we could be. And we're often downright inconsistent. No wonder the psalmist prayed in Psalm 86, "Lord, unite my heart to fear your name." And in groups of people, we're often a mixed bunch too, aren't we? Ask a leader in any sphere of life, business, politics, education, sport, church even, and you'll find their experience is that, on the one hand, folks can be excellent and exciting, and on the other, excitable, exasperating, and downright exhausting. It's the latter experience that summarizes the situation in Numbers chapter 20. Hear the words of verses 2 through 5. Now there was no water for the community, and the people gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron. They quarreled with Moses and said, "If only we died when our brothers fell dead before the Lord. Why did you bring the Lord's community into this wilderness, that we and our livestock should die here? Why did you bring us up out of Egypt to this terrible place? It has no grain or figs, grapevines or pomegranates, and there's no water to drink." Well, as a well-known hymn reminds us, tell me the old, old story, for I forget so soon. Clearly they were having a case of group amnesia. Had they forgotten what they or their parents had experienced when the Lord had provided water from the rock back in Exodus 17? Again, after a period of grumbling. And can any of them think God has any problems in water management and supply when he can open the Red Sea? Clearly Moses is fed up and worn down by the constant complaining of these people. We could almost retitle Numbers the Book of Grumbling. Back in Exodus 17, when called upon to provide water, Moses was told to strike the rock with his staff. He did, and the water flowed. This time he was simply told, verse 8, to speak to the rock. He didn't. He struck the rock with his staff in a fit of anger, blowing his stack, as we say, calling the people rebels. We've already been reminded back in chapter 12, verse 3, that Moses was a very humble man. That was his strength, humble before the Lord. But just like a Christian's weakness can become a strength when yielded to Christ, here's the kicker, as my American friends might put it. Our strength can become a weakness, and his strength cost him dearly. You see, even when we feel exasperated by people's bad behavior, usually, as James 1 puts it, human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Just think of some of the peaceful protests that get out of hand with terrible consequences at times. Know this, as a general rule, when you find someone really exasperating, it's a good idea to count up to 10, as we say, and slowly, before shooting our mouths off, because our brains may not be fully engaged. With some folk, I've had to think more in terms of 100 than 10, and I guess some folk have counted even higher than that when they've been thinking of me. As we close, there's one massively important commentary not to miss on this passage, and it comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 3 and 4. Where we're told that ancient Israel all ate the same spiritual food and drank the same spiritual drink, for they drank from the spiritual rock that accompanied them, and then listen carefully. And that rock was Christ. The first occasion Moses struck that rock back in Exodus 17, water flowed. And there on the cross, the Son of God was indeed struck once for us all in death, and now provides the water of life. He doesn't need to be struck again. Rather, as Moses was told to do here, if that rock in its rich typology is Christ the Lord, then I don't need to strike him. He's died once for sinners. I need simply to speak to him and to receive the water of life he promises in John 7:37. If anyone is thirsty, let them come to me and drink. If I do, I may well find that I'm far less angry with and hard on others, and perhaps even a little more forgiving of them, and even myself. Have a blessed day.